Welcome, our fellow lovers of love, and thank you for joining us on yet another excursion through the stream of consciousness, down the river of tranquility, to fill the lake of life with love.
Good evening, our fellow lovebirds out there in the lovosphere. So tonight you can turn down the lights and tune in as Late Night Love dives into your juiciest questions about parenting pitfalls, relationship roller coasters, workplace woes, and bedroom adventures. From rebellious teens to unexpected pregnancies, family drama to flirty lingerie moments, we're here to unpack it all with heart humor and a touch of late night spice. So if you've got a confession, we've got the advice. Tune in and let's talk some love.
Yes.
And if you want to find us, you can always find us at latenightLove.us, and you can send in your questions, comments, suggestions, etc. to love@latenightLove.us. Okay. It's been a fun week. I've been busy this week, Lovey.
I know you have.
Yeah, it's...
You used to have these half days on Friday. That's when your weekend would start, and then you'd have all weekend.
Yeah, well,
And it's not like that anymore.
Well, I started, 2.5 years ago, I started this task, had the same kind of schedule. I was talking to a coworker today. Well, this particular journey at the place I'm working is ending, and, I'm wrapping that up, and that's causing a lot of, stuff to do. It caused a lot of stuff to do. And there's a lot of emotions attached to it. Anytime you end something that people have spent a lot of time in, and for our KUB listeners, you should probably know by now, KUB will be closing its doors on March 29th at 11:59 p.m. on March 29th. So KUB will be closing its doors. Signal will be going off the air. But, things are working. Most producers will look for a new home. Some have already found it, so you can go find them. They'll tell you. Everybody will tell you where they're going. We haven't made a decision. You can always find us at latenightLove.us. That will never change. So you can always find us there. And follow us there to find out where else we are, even though we're terrible about posting updates to that kind of stuff. But we are great about posting there for our weekly content because that's where our show notes are. Yeah. And we couldn't do the show if we didn't post to our website, because we actually use our website to run the show. So you get to know our show rundown the exact same way we use it. So there's a little behind the scenes task for you. Except for these little interludes that we just kind of sit there and randomly talk about. So when you want to play this clip we've got tonight, I think we should play it here after the relationship questions, I think.
All right.
I think we're starting with parenting questions tonight.
Yeah, that's how it just happened. It just happened that way.
This happened that way?
Yeah, unless you want to do.
No, but you know what I did forget to do? I forgot to put in the brakes. So anyway, we're going to have to kind of navigate.
Oh.
Yeah, you see, I didn't put in the...
Oh, goodness. Okay.
So we're winging it tonight because I messed up and I didn't get them... separated properly. I went all through the times of formatting and forgot to put in the break.
You got one in how many years, babe? 4 years.
Oh, I've messed up many, many times. What are you talking about? But hey, it's the first time for this change, and that's what happens when you're your own QA person. Which there's actually a question about that. I think later on in the work question. I think I added one. Okay. So, parenting questions. What do we have first, my love?
My 12-year-old just shocked me by coming home with a nose piercing. Is this a sign of rebellion or just a phase? How should I handle it without pushing him further away?
Wait, who gave a 12-year-old a nose piercing?
Her friend.
Okay, this is what you actually do. You take that thing to the doctor, get it properly taken out and properly sanitized, and explain to them that if you're going to get those kind of things, you actually have to do it properly and sanitarily. And then you have that discussion. Because this is actually not really about the nose piercing. It's about doing it improper and not having this discussion with your parents. That's the real issue. Forget the nose piercing. The nose piercing is there to shock you. And at 12 years old, they want to do it. But if they want to do it, what you need to set is the precedent. So, okay, if you want to have these type of things, you need to sit down and have a discussion because there's things you don't know yet. There's consequences to these things that you don't understand yet, which is why you have these discussions with your parents beforehand. And you've got to reset that precedent. At somewhere you've lost communications with your child. You're going to have to reset it. But get it taken care of. Go down to the med clinic or whatever it is and give them $150 to make sure it's all cleaned and taken out and properly. And then in a few months, you can go and have another decision. But that would be my suggestion. 12's a little too young to be making that decision by themselves.
My.
Well, some parents will say yes. Some parents will say no. I'm not going to make a judgment either way.
Mm-hmm.
But at 12, the parent has to be involved in that decision. Mm-hmm. Well, because you can't have their friend doing it. If you're going to do it, the friend may be very fastidious about sanitation or they could be a typical 12-year-old. You don't know.
Well, she was 14.
That's worse than a 12-year-old. 14-year-olds are just gross. 12-year-olds are just stupid. There's a difference. I'd take the 12-year-old. So it is a phase and a sign of rebellion. Let's be clear. There is that. And so it's what you've lost is the connection with your child. You've lost that where your child wants to come to you when they're thinking of things and talk to you about it. Maybe you've turned them away one too many times. And so now this is their way of getting your attention. So, okay, you've got their attention. First, we're going to go undo this, and then you're going to maintain my attention. You can even apologize for not giving them the attention they need. If you really wanted to. Sorry, we've lost connection. Got to work on that. There could be some of that. Because understand, that's where rebellion comes from. So, anyway, is there anything else you want to add to that?
I think they need to do some serious talking. I mean, what's behind all this?
Okay.
Why are they being rebellious? What's happening?
Well, they're 12. There's always some rebellious at 12 and 13. This is built into 12 and 13-year-olds. 14, 15, 16, 17.
Just push it.
Yeah, but this type of thing, even a rebellious 12-year-old will still want to talk to their parents.
Yeah.
So they've lost... Well, that happens. Parents get busy. They got other siblings to deal with. The middle child syndrome,
Okay.
that type of thing. So, yeah. So it's the parents have to, going forward, you have to start giving the child the attention they're screaming for. It's a cry for attention. They don't know it. For them, it's a act of rebellion, but acts of rebellion like this are cries for attention. It means you've let it go too long, and so they're having to scream louder. And this is a pretty loud scream, so tend to it now. But both ways, the short-term thing, make sure this is,
Yes.
yeah, take care of it.
Uh-huh.
You don't get to do this on your own, so you go take care of it.
Then
but following that, not with punishment. Don't punish the child for it. The punishment is having to go get it taken out and cleaned up and taken care of. You don't punish them for it. You give them the attention they need. That's your answer, long-term answer. The short-term answer is you go get it taken care of because you can't have your friend doing it. Long-term answer is reconnect with your child. It's your responsibility. You are the adult.
Yes.
This is a cry for reconnection. Okay.
My 7-year-old son avoids responsibility like it's a chore. How can I teach him to own up to his actions without turning it into a battle?
Well, this is what 7-year-olds do. They don't.
7.
He's 7. He's learning. All you have to do at this stage is just be firm. You don't let him get away with it, is what you don't do. You don't reinforce the behavior. He'll eventually learn that it's not rewarding, and he will move on to a more rewarding strategy. So you don't reward the bad strategies, and you reward the good ones. That's how you deal with these things long term. You educate him. And you educate him by, when he avoids responsibility, you don't give him rewards. When he accepts responsibility, you give him rewards he doesn't expect. And therefore, over time, he will understand, okay, playing things straight, being open and honest gets me things that I don't expect, while avoiding my responsibility, avoiding faults is getting me things I don't want. But there's also another aspect to this, is you have to become comfortable with your child failing and making mistakes. He's 7. Of course he's going to. So don't set a standard so high that he can never reach it. You want to set standards that are tough, that they have to, work towards, but they have to be able to succeed at the same time. And age appropriate, 7. I always said I treat my children about a year older than they were. So they always had, so they were always capable of doing it, but it was always having to work. They were always having to be better. And it's always having to be better. It's just better. Over time, you become a better human being. You become more competent, which makes you more confident, which makes you emotionally healthy, which makes you a more solid human being. Hello, this is not rocket science. All right, so yeah, that's what you do. This is just parenting right there. That's all that is. Yeah. Sorry,
realistic expectations.
Yeah, real expectations, but yeah, don't reward avoiding responsibility. And when he accepts responsibility, give him unexpected rewards. Okay.
As a single mom, I'm thrilled my teenage son is cooking dinner without being asked. But I'm a picky eater. How do I appreciate his effort without hurting his feelings or discouraging his newfound independence?
You tell him just that. This is one of those things we were just talking about. You want your child to be honest with you. You have to be honest with them. I love that you want to cook. I love that you're learning to cook. Cook portions for yourself. I'm too picky. I'm not as satisfying. You have this problem, in a sense. I am not a satisfying person to cook for.
No, I can't cook for you.
Yeah. So. But
I try and find stuff.
So the way to deal with that is you don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We're open and honest with each other. I'm the worst person.
And that took me years to let go of that.
Yeah, but she can set that in him now.
Yeah.
Where people have different tastes, people have different needs. And so your desire to be a foodie should be encouraged. Mm-hmm. I encourage it. I want you to go about it. I will buy you the stuff you need at the store. I will bring home the fresh ingredients or whatever it is you need. Happy to do it. But I'm going to eat my chicken nuggets and french fries. I'm sorry. It's not a reflection of you. It's a reflection of my bad taste. I'm a toddler. I can't help it. And you leave it at that. And he'll respect you for that. And he'll go, yeah, I know. Because of course he does. He's known you his entire life. He knows that you're not a picky eater, and this is why he actually wants to cook for himself.
She is a picky eater.
No, but she knows yes.
Yeah.
But this is why he wants to cook for himself. He wants real food. This is self-preservation in his mind. This is why he's doing it. So just be open and honest with him. That's on these, especially when you're dealing with teenagers, a teenage son. Just be open with him. He's cool. He'll be cool with it. Yeah, make it about you, not him, and you'll be fine. You've already done good. You made a teenage boy who wants to cook. How many teenage boys want to do anything but microwave something? So be happy. Yeah. Whatever you're doing is working. So just keep doing what you're doing. How's that as for a suggestion? Okay.
My husband plans to use his paternity leave for golf and me time instead of helping with our newborn. Is this fair, or should I put my foot down before the baby arrives? Well, wait a minute. She bringing the newborn home, and he wants to go play golf.
Well, there is an argument for having some of this time where people can go off and decompress from the newborn time. And so if you say, hey, I got to go take a day and going to go off and spend the day with my friends, we're just going to go golfing and kind of unwind. And then she gets a day the next weekend. I'm all cool with that. Especially, and sometimes in those first days when mother-in-law is hanging around the house all the time or something, he may not want to be home. Mother-in-law there may be more here. But if it's just them two, we're going to assume the thing is in complete isolation. There's no extenuating circumstances. And this bozo just wants to go play golf because, hey, I don't got to go to work. No. No, that one doesn't work. If you're changing times and you're each going to say, hey, let's carve out some me time for each of us. You can go off with your friends and go do whatever you want. I'm going to go off with my friends on this day and go do whatever I want. You
have to watch the baby.
And you're swapping these things back and forth. Great. I actually encourage that. It's healthy for both of them. It's healthy for the father to have to spend some time, actual time, dealing with the baby without the mother accidentally always stepping on his toes when he's trying to learn how to do this thing because he's not doing it right. Because he's only done it 3 times because, he's got to do it for a handful of times before they learn how to do these things. And it's difficult to do it when you've got Hawk watching over your head. That's so, yeah, the diaper's not going to work and it's going to make a mess, but we got a laundry machine. It's not the old days where you had to take this stuff down to the down to the rock by the stream. It's fine. Let it be. He'll learn that way, just the way you did. Yeah. So let it be. But if he's just being a complete bozo, you put your foot down. No. If you get time, I get just as much with my friends doing what I want.
Yes.
Yeah. But I suspect he's just being a bozo. Or there's a mother-in-law involved and he just don't want to be at the house when she's hanging around. So he's going to be gone during the day when mother-in-law is there. There could be some of that and he just don't want to say it. So there is, a good 10, 15% chance of that. But it's a good 50, 60% chance that he's a bozo. Let's be honest. I'll defend my gender, but only to a point. We are dumb, especially the younger we are, the dumber we are. That's the kind of thing a 30-year-old, first-time father will do. Been married 1.5 years and whatever, brain cells aren't firing off properly or whatever it is. Pregnant women aren't the easiest things to deal with. So he's got some steam to blow off, right? This thing's going to be over, thank God. She's not returning to normal for a little while, but he doesn't know that yet. But he's hoping. But anyway. All right, well, let's move on. What do we got next?
I just discovered my son has a secret burner phone. How do I address this without breaking trust or escalating the situation?
Do you remember how old their son was?
No.
Well, I'm going to assume they're like teenagers or
He was a teenager. He was under 15. I remember that much because I went, whoa.
So the question is, why is he using a secret burner phone? It may just because he can. There are those of us. I would have been one who, if we had a chance of having a burner phone, I would have had one. Not because I was doing anything nefarious, just because I would have wanted one that only the people I wanted could get a hold of me on. Not because I had done anything with it, just because I would have wanted to. But it could be a sign that he's engaged in activities that are not above board. So you just have to ask him about it and see what his answers are. If he's overly defensive, then you've got a bigger problem than if he's got, well, I don't know, I just kind of wanted to do it. He just can't. If he has no real explanation, but he's not overly defensive, then it's fine. But if he jumps to defensiveness, comes up with like 3 different excuses, then he's hiding something that's a bigger deal. And it may just be something a girlfriend he don't want you to know about because he's not allowed to date. But he could just be a nerd. It's entirely possible. You've got a nerd on your hands and he's using it for gaming or something that you don't want him to play. And so it's really just fine. Most likely the case, but
Probably the games.
The gaming or a girlfriend or something of that. It's games or girls 90% of the time, right?
90% of the time, that's what it is.
or the equivalent of girls. You know, it may not necessarily be a girl, but same concept.
Same concept, yeah.
So
now that would really be a reason to get a secret burner phone. A teen would think.
Yes. So there's all kinds of completely normal teen things that you don't really need to worry about that he would think he would. 90% of those are going to be relatively harmless. You know, you may not like them, but he's going to do it anyway. You know, even if it's smoke signals, he's going to find a way to communicate with those people. So if not, he's just going to find a way to do it on his phone. And you know, he'll learn how to use VPNs and whatnot, uninstall them and then install them. So you don't want to go there. Just ask him, hey, why are you using a burning phone? And if he gives you kind of a bunch of 3 different evading answers, and if, you know, you probably want to ask more. If he just gives you a shrug, I don't know, I'm just goofing with it. You know how when your son's hiding something and he's being honest. Yeah. My guess is he doesn't really know other than girlfriend or gaming. And my guess is he doesn't know. He just got one just because he could. And now he uses it because he can. So, all right.
At 45, I just found out I'm pregnant, even though my partner had a vasectomy and we used the pull-out method. How is this possible, and what should we do next?
Well, you just found out that not everything is nothing is 100% effective. So, yeah, because at 45, she should have been pretty hard to get pregnant.
Yeah.
Vasectomy is nothing's ever 100%, but that's pretty. You know, if they didn't do it properly, they can get by and tubes can regrow back. If
they can.
I mean, it's very rare. You know,
but it happens.
And we know the pull-out effect method is never effective. But you would think adding on
way to run a railroad.
Well, no, but considering age and vasectomy, I could see adding the pull-out method. Most people would say that's a little going above and beyond. I'm just saying. You're kind of adding. No one in the planet would have thought they needed to use any other method than the vasectomy.
I know, than the vasectomy.
And age. Those two combinations. If you're 25, it might be a different question than if you're 45. Right? You're 25 and highly fertile. It's a vastly different thing than 45, and you're running out of eggs at this stage, right? It's it's just biology. It's nothing. So anyway, what do you do next? Well, you are now older parents, I suspect. At 45, you know, the decision to keep the child or not would have been.
You already made that decision.
Yeah, that decision.
Because you're asking. You're not saying. You're not just putting up a complete block right out the gate.
No, you're not asking, is it going to be weird when I go to the clinic? This is how do I cope with being pregnant at 45?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
That's what this is. And that's the only real danger at being pregnant at this age is extra health considerations, especially for the mother. And so you go to this is one of those things where your doctors early and often are the prescribed path. Manage your health. it's more important for a 45-year-old woman to do these things than a 25. Because you want to be you want to have the most successful pregnancy possible. And at 45, you're going to have to do some extra things that you didn't have to do at 25.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to have to actually eat better. And it's not like you didn't eat bad at 25, but you're going to have to eat better. You're going to have to be more diligent on your exercises. And, probably going to consider a C-section before just from a, you'll throw your back out trying to go through God, one contraction and you're going to be in traction, I'm just, so you're just an older parent at this stage. And the sadly is in 10 years, people are going to say, oh, is that your grandchild? And then that's, so, well, maybe they're young, looking 45 and 50-year-olds, and it won't be such a big deal. We can hope. But here's the advantage. You have all the tools in your toolbox you need to be a successful parent.
Yes, you do. Being a mature parent is, and I did it at 35. 45, I can imagine even more. I mean, you have so much to offer.
Yeah. So look at the good side. There's things to be concerned about. The health of getting through the pregnancy. But on the other side of that, you have the opportunity to be a really, really good parent. So go forth and multiply. I guess, the die has been cast. All right. Oh, I just didn't highlight them. Okay. All right. What's next?
I'm always paranoid about my kids walking in on us during intimate moments. How can I ensure privacy without making things awkward or feeling like I'm sneaking around?
Okay, the most obvious answer that is called a privacy lock. We have them on bathrooms all the time. You can put them on your bedroom door.
Mm-hmm.
And that keeps, the toddlers and youngins out. And trust me, teenagers don't want to walk in on you.
Do not want to.
So you don't have to be overly paranoid about that. But yeah, it's called a privacy lock.
Mm-hmm.
And you just lock it when you're in intimate moments, and you unlock it when you're not. So that one's an easy answer. But the harder answer is more the psychological answer they're actually dealing with.
Yeah.
How do we actually enjoy ourselves and not think about knucklehead walking in? And just like everybody else, you learn not to think about it.
It takes a little bit of time, and it takes effort of actually focusing on what you're doing.
Yeah. You may have to start by sending them to Aunt's house or something for the night. They're going to have a sleepover when really it's you and your wife having a sleepover, but that's but that's a different, there's those moments.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, privacy lock. That's my first suggestion.
Okay.
And then you don't have to worry about it. All right, so we've got relationships questions. And before we go over to relationships question, there's a perspective I thought we should hear. So let's listen to this one.
When a man wants to get married, he's only getting married truly for one reason. Because let me be honest with you women, the men can work and provide for themselves. He does not necessarily need you to cook, clean, and have sex because he can get sex for multiple women. They're giving it out. A lot of them can cook and clean. Their mother taught them, or they can pay someone to get it. The culture is telling them, do not get married. So why would a man go past what the culture is telling him and choose to have a wife? Because with a wife, you can now have love. You can now have nurturing. You can have support. You can have affection. This is what he can't get from a roommate. So if that is not what you're leading with in your relationships with men, is love, support, nurturing, and respect, this is why your husband is now pulling away, because in the beginning you gave him those things. But as you got into the relationship, you got bitter, you got resentful, you start seeing his flaws, start counting that against him, you start measuring him against other men, and now you're pulling back on the love, the affection, and the nurture.
So, how much truth is that? I know from a man's perspective, we don't think of it that way, but there's actually rings some truth to that, at least from a man's perspective.
What is it really?
Well, we can learn to cook. We're not incompetent. We can build half the world. You know, we can build a building. We can learn to cook. We can fix a car. We can learn to cook. We're not interested in it, but it's not that we can't do it. Or you can go to Burger King or have your food delivered or pay the lady next door to make an extra helping for you, as they used to do in the old days. You know, in the old days, you'd pay, if you didn't want to cook and you were a single man, you'd pay the family lady next door to make you an extra helping, and you just ate whatever they were eating next door. You know, it worked out for everybody. They got some extra money, and you got a homemade meal every night. You know, there are solutions to all these problems. You know, the cleaning person. So those domestic chores. They don't need a partner for domestic chores. Nobody needs a partner for domestic chores. No. You need a partner because you need a partner. You know, those dividing the chores, dividing the responsibilities. However you want to do that, however any couples want to do that, that's fine. Let's not be judging how people choose to divide it, but divide those responsibilities with thought. If you expect someone else to go out and provide your home, your food, and all that other stuff, then what are you providing? And I'm providing comfort. I'm providing a safe place. I'm providing some place where he wants to come home at the end of it. You know, he wants to be here.
Mm-hmm. You know, and I think it to come home to someone who is interested in you and hearing about your day.
Well,
you know, and how you're doing. And sit down here. Let me feed you. Let me nourish you.
Yeah, but whatever you need. You know, some of us don't need the food nourishment, but I get everything I need in that sense. So I get nourished. So anyway, it's just something for us all to think about. And there's another perspective is it's nice to see it. As a man, we've always had other men and women telling us to be better men, you know, and some of their suggestions on how us to be a better men might be kind of silly, but you know, it's been a long-term conversation about men. Hey, we need to step up and be better men. Whether you've failed or succeeded on that or not is an open question, but at least we've been having the discussion since the 70s, right? At least. Okay. We're finally having that discussion with women. Mm-hmm. I think women are looking for a new balance. Mm-hmm. I think there's a search for a new balance. People talk about that work-life balance, but I don't. It's not quite right. I think there's a perspective balance we're all looking for, and women are struggling with it just as much as men are. This is part of that. There was another clip, but I didn't include it, about a lady who says she's this professional woman, you know, been to college, she's out there, and she says she wants to be a homemaker. She wants to go out and milk her cows and raise her kid with a belly, you know, child in her belly, a toddler on her hip, and one behind her. She wants that kind of life, but she doesn't feel she can have it because society told her she had to go off and get a college degree, get a job, and be a career woman, and she doesn't feel that she can search for that other life, despite for the fact that there's millions of people who have it.
That is very sad.
But she was trained that she couldn't have that, and she's angry because she doesn't feel she can have what she really wants. And you know, we have,
you know, that all started, I remember, in the 60s, you know, with the women's lib, you know, and which
is a great point,
which was fantastic, you know.
Yes.
Women actually got to have their own
make your dang choice,
get their own bank accounts.
Yeah.
And not have to have their husband's signature, things like that, just basics.
Yeah.
But I think we lost that perspective that we're not enemies. We're in this together. So it was like we were enemies for decades, and I'm hoping we can get past that.
Yeah. Well, the whole women's lib thing is that they have choice. You should be able to live the life you want to live. You instinctively want to live. That young woman who didn't feel she could live the life she wanted, who wanted to be a homemaker, who wanted to have 3 babies in her 10-acre little farm and, milk her cows and get her chickens or whatever kind of life she had. That's not an easy life. She's not pretending that it's an easy life. That's the life she wanted. And she should have been able to, that should have been as much fostered just as much as her go to college, get a career. But she was told her only choice was to go get a career, that this other life wasn't good enough for you. And that's the life she wanted. When the reality is, you should chase the life you really instinctively want, because that's the only way you're going to be content.
Yes.
I mean, happiness is a momentary thing, but the only way you're going to be content,
Truly content, yeah.
yeah, is by being who you really are. And she knew it. She was holding back tears talking about this. So, she wanted those 3 kids and a nice traditional life, and she's angry that she was told she couldn't have one. She was trained that she couldn't have one. She still believes she can't have one, despite the fact that there's millions of people out there, living that kind of lifestyle.
These are the women who at 50, they go off into the woods. This is what happens.
Yeah, she's going to be angry. She's one of these people who are going to be angry at feminism. As she gets older. And it may be misplaced and maybe not. There's some truth to her anger. Now, there's some truth that she didn't. Someone should have told her that, no, you have options. And that's really what feminism was all about, is you have options. You can be the homemaker. You can be the career woman. You can make the choice to do either one. Just make a choice. Make a deliberate choice. That's what feminism and the women's lib movement was originally about. It lost itself somewhere. And it became, you have to be a career woman.
Militant.
Yeah. Well, activists get involved in things. It gets all out of whack. Take a populist movement, and as the rank and file get satisfied, they drop off. And so all you have left is the activists who are never satisfied because they're activists. Once something gets done, there's always going to be something else. It's the nature of the activist. It's not even their fault. It's a force of nature. It's not like an individual fault. There's a certain percentage of people who are going to be activated by something. And when they find it, they're never going to know when to end because they've got their calling. So nobody's fault. It's just nature. It's our political system needs to tell them no, and it doesn't know how to say no. So that's a whole different issue. Okay. So we are on to our relationship questions.
Okay. My boyfriend's mom said I was wrong to take my son out for birthday cake with his dad. Is this really my fault, or is this none of her business? How do I handle this family drama?
What? So
Okay.
her and her ex went to the birthday party with their son.
Took him out for birthday cake. Took their son out for birthday cake together. They did a together thing.
Your boyfriend's mom needs to mind her own business.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah. If you can't park your emotions for a birthday party for a child, then you're not an adult. Yeah, and I actually can understand. There might be circumstances where you can't, but then you don't go, right? That's how you be the adult about it. Actually, I think we have a question. We'll discuss that later on. But
Okay.
But yes, in this case, your boyfriend's mom is being out of pocket. It's none of her dang business. It might be her boyfriend's business, but it's not his mom's business.
No.
And I suspect her boyfriend probably understands more than his mother does.
Well, he doesn't have anything to say about it. But why can't he tell his mom to mind her own business?
Yeah, well, it's hard for especially young men to tell their mom to mind their own business. Their mom was the one that raised them. They owe their mom their whole lives. How do you tell your mother to mind her own business? Well, once you learn to do that is when you become a man, because once you can stand up to your mother, then you are a truly, genuinely independent human being. It's rite of passage. He's going to have to find it. And he will at some point. This is it or not, I don't know, but he'll find it at some point.
Well, you don't actually say mind your own business.
Oh, sometimes you have to be that blunt.
Oh, really?
Mothers don't take hints.
Yeah, we do. We just ignore them.
Like I'm saying. I rest my case. All right, moving on.
My wedding is coming up, and my trans sister is causing major family drama. How do I navigate this without letting me ruin my big day or my relationship with my family?
Okay, this is one of these things. If whoever is actually causing the drama, sometimes the drama isn't, the person causing the drama isn't actually the instigator of the drama. So I'm not going to make any judgments on these things. The actual instigator may be a different person, but the instigator of the drama needs to be mature enough to not go.
Mm-hmm. If they're so upset.
If they're so upset of one thing or the other, then that's the person who doesn't get to go.
Yeah.
Whoever that person actually is. And you may have to sift through the initial emotions to figure out who that is. It may or may not be the sister. We all know how these things get, especially these days when you're dealing with trans issues. So it may or may not be the sister that's actually causing the drama.
Mm-hmm.
It may be somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, those are the people who don't go. But if it is the sister, then it's the sister who doesn't get to go. It's just the way the world works. That's how maturity works. You don't spoil everybody's soup because you have an issue. You just don't go.
Right.
Yeah. You let your absence speak. Everybody will know. Okay. What is next? Oh, there we go.
My boyfriend struggles to open up emotionally, and it's leaving me feeling disconnected. How can I encourage him to share his feelings without pushing too hard and making him shut down?
This is the kind of the classic thing, right? She's expecting him to share his emotions like she shares hers.
Yeah.
You're never, ever
gonna
going to get that. Well, okay, not never. The chances are very slim. There's, I don't know, 10, 15, maybe 20% of men who are emotional like that,
Mm-hmm.
kind of out the gate.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can get that rate up to 50, 55, 56, 50, 60% maybe after maturity and hard work and therapy and stuff come in. So if you get talking about a 55-year-old man, they can generally share their emotions if they so choose. They may not choose to, but they can if they need to. So my guess is these are younger people, and he doesn't understand his emotions. That's why he can't share them. And you have to let him. She's expecting him to communicate the way women communicate, and men don't communicate that way. And men have the same problem. We expect women to communicate the way we communicate with ourselves, and they don't. That's why we don't understand hints. We're expecting more blunt discussions. Because our friends just tell us when we're being stupid. They don't hint at anything. They just, hey, you're being a jerk. Knock it off. That bluntness. We like that. We're used to it. That's we're used to an insult coming with the coming in with the compliment, because you don't want your heads to get too big. When you compliment Yeah, that's what it happens on the basketball court. Someone makes a good move, and that's why all the insults. Anyway, it's a whole big psychological game among men to keep yourselves from getting overly inflated egos. That's what all that stuff is designed to do, to keep you all grounded. You guys think we're being mean to each other, and the reality is we're actually helping each other, ourselves mature and learn how to work together as teams. If you look how military training, you've been through boot camp, from an outside perspective, you'd think they're crazy, but it actually serves a purpose.
Yes.
Yes. It's no different than teenagers interacting with each other and boyfriend and, friends that happen to be boys are dealing with. That's why we're mean to each other, but we're not actually mean to each other. You guys are so mean to each other. We're going, what are you guys talking about? We're just messing around.
I know.
We're not mean to each other then, are we?
Yeah, you are.
No, we're not. You guys interpret us as being mean to each other. We interpret us as goofing around, having a good time. Who's correct? The people who are actually engaging in the activity, or the people who are sitting on the bleachers watching? I'm just saying. I think we know what we're doing. And I get it. You guys can't imagine yourselves, right? Your whole worlds would come crashing down if women talked about each other the way we, dealt with men the way we did.
Ooh, it would just be all bad. Man, there'd be cat fights.
Yeah, but we can somehow manage to, and also men can have a fight and the next day, sorry, man. Yeah, I was out of control. Yeah, me too. And then you go off and be friends again. It's no big deal. You guys will drag that stuff on for decades.
My two aunts, but related by marriage, I grew up with them. I never saw them at each other's houses. I never really understood what was going on. But no one ever said anything, right?
Yeah.
And turns out at Bible camp, there was a big one aunt went and told on the other aunt for talking, and 60 years later, they still didn't like each other.
Well, snitching on someone for talking is bad enough. Snitching on your what? Sister?
It wasn't her sister at that time. They were teenagers.
Yeah, so
they weren't married.
Oh, so they became
that later they became related. Sister-in-laws.
Yeah. No.
60 years later, man, they still just
men, they'll get in a fist fight and then become best friends a week later, inseparable. It just happens. Because then they learn how to be honest, open and honest with each other. They can move on. You guys don't move on. Just saying. Here's our suggestion is stop expecting them to open up emotionally the way you would.
Okay.
Look for his love language. Because you are. If you're expecting him to communicate in a way that he can't, of course he's going to.
Okay, now here's a tip from me to you.
Mm-hmm.
What does he do? Not what he says. What does he do? Does he do things that makes your life better? $5 says he does. That's a man's love language. You got to really pay attention to their behavior. Took me 30 years to figure that out.
And here is another little hint that I almost forgot about. When he's ready, when he has a need, don't turn him down. He will have a need. There will be time where he will need to talk to you about something that he feels emotional about. Maybe it's a video game. It may seem really silly to you, but remember how often you need him to talk about something that's silly to him. You need him to listen to you about something that's silly to him. So when he does open up about something, regardless of how silly it may or may not be, don't disrespect that. Honor his outreach, because that will get you to the stuff that he needs you for some reason. You know, maybe he accomplished something in a game and he had a big, huge moment and he got no one to share it with. So he comes and tells you, he knows dang well you're not interested in it. But, you know, hey, I'm glad you got that. You know, be happy for him.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you're building that trust thing. You're building that habit in him to come to you when he's got something to share. And then when he has something deeply meaningful to share, you will be the one he'll want to share it to instinctively. So become the one he wants to share those goofy little things with, and he will share those big things with you instinctively. But you can't sit a man down on the couch, on the kitchen table and say, so open up to me emotionally. What the hell are you talking about? He's got to have something on his mind that he has the need to express in order to express it.
Two women sit down with cups of tea and go, can we talk?
Yeah, sure. What about?
And we just open up.
No, two men will stand there until you've got actually something to discuss. That's why we talk about sports so much, because when we have nothing else to discuss, you can always
The weather.
talk about sports or the weather. It's just something to talk about. It's completely meaningless, but it's something to talk about. That's all those times men are talking about sports, they're just filling time. This is just giving them something to talk about. Oh, except for the fanatics, but that's why they're called fans. Okay, what is next?
My boyfriend called me fat when he was drunk. Should I confront him about it or just chalk it up to the alcohol talking? I can't stop thinking about it.
Well, there's probably a little bit of both. He probably would never have said it if he wasn't so drunk. But that actually doesn't excuse it.
Not okay.
Yeah. But at the same time, if it's one of those things he wouldn't actually say, I don't know how much of it. You don't want to ignore it, but at the same time, you don't want it to become a overly big issue. There's a spot for it on the issue scale. It's not a nuclear bomb type thing, but it's not something you brush aside either. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So an honest conversation about her feelings, I think, is in order.
And there maybe she has put on some weight and he's not overly happy about it and he doesn't have the skills to discuss it, so it's weighing on the back of his brain and you get drunk and these things come out as sideways as things do when you're overly drunk. Stay away from the alcohol, people, for the love of God.
I wouldn't hang out with him if he drank anymore.
So, this is one of those things where you maybe want to deal with it both
and
ways.
I would tell him why.
Deal with it both ways. Yeah, it's not pleasant to be around.
Yeah.
I don't like hanging around drunk people either, so, I get you. Anyway.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess the suggestion is you want to deal with it, but don't overly deal with it. Is my suggestion. Because you don't want to make it bigger than it needs to be, but you don't want to ignore it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't ignore it. No.
Yeah. It's not a molehill, but it's not a mountain either.
Right.
There's somewhere in between there. And you're going to have to, these are these things on relationships that you have to deal with, and how you deal with them, tells you what kind of relationship you have or not. It's not the event itself, it's how it's dealt with that tells you more. This is a very human thing. Doesn't mean you don't love her, but she's, we all do. We all put on some weight. We're no longer the people we used to be. It happens. And your partner can, prefer your old shapes. Doesn't mean he loves you any less. It just means he preferred your old shape. And
you haven't always looked like this?
Yeah, no. No. Of course, I've gone 30 pounds up and down with you 3 times over the course of the last number of years.
I don't.
Yeah, we don't notice.
We don't pay attention. I don't pay attention.
Well, I think it does happen. For us, I think it happens relatively slowly.
I mean, when you pay attention to it, I don't have to. You know how freeing that is? I don't have to monitor your medications. None of that BS.
No.
No.
Hey, I only have one medication to take, and surprisingly, I forget to take it like once a week. It's terrible.
Oh.
Anyway, and I even use the pill thing. I should go back to, anyway, that's a whole different discussion. Maybe we should talk about that next week. Take your pills, people. All right. So, yeah, just deal with it is the good suggestion. And there's two things you might want to have to deal with. You might have to, accept that your eating habits have decayed and maybe you're a little more sedentary than you should be. And your partner has a right to be concerned about that. You don't have a right to approach it in a callous way. So you can deal with those. Both those things can be true. Yeah. So, yeah, again, it's a mountain, but it's not a mountain. It's not a molehill either. Anyway, we're moving on. We kicked this one too.
All right.
Yeah.
After 10 years together, my boyfriend finally told me why he won't propose. And it has to do with his past as a recovering alcoholic. No, her past.
That's what this is.
I know.
Oh, but it was hers?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what happened here.
Okay.
How do I process this, and what does that mean for our future? He is afraid of a relapse.
Of her relapse.
Her relapse, yeah.
Yeah. So he has some issues with, I'm assuming, alcoholism in his family.
I don't know.
Well, that's generally the only time people are worried about it.
Yeah.
There's some kind of experience. Otherwise, people don't think about it unless they've got a reason to.
Yeah.
So he's likely has some trauma associated with that. But there's a lucky thing here. You don't need to actually have a marriage thing to be married. You guys have been together for 10 years. You are effectively.
Your common law.
Well, it's not even common law. You're effectively married, especially if you're living together. So he's running that risk anyway. But what he's thinking is, okay, but if I need to get out, there's no barrier. There's no legal barrier to me getting out.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily true.
No.
But it's not the point. This is an emotional protection. He's emotionally protecting himself from whatever tragedy he endured. And so the way to deal with this is figure out what that is. Let him open up to you about what that is. Because until he can do that, until he can bring that, whatever his internal tragedy was, a drunken father, a drunken mother, most common things. And probably something tragic associated with that would be my guess. But until he can deal with that and you guys can have that discussion, he's going to have a difficulty moving forward. Because there's something holding him back, and it's really not you. Because otherwise he would have moved on already. He trusts you enough to stay with you for 10 years. So it's not you. It's him. And his undealt with trauma.
Yes.
So help him deal with that trauma, and then he'll trust you, I suppose, is my suggestion. Okay.
My girlfriend might move abroad for college, and I'm torn between supporting her dreams and fearing we'll drift apart. How do we make this work without holding each other back?
Sometimes when you love someone, you have to let them go to become the best of them they can be. You have to take the risk that they may never come back, that they may find something else as on their journey of life. But if you truly love somebody, you want the best for them. And if going to abroad for college is the best thing for them, then you want that for them.
Yes.
And it doesn't make it easy. Love isn't easy. Loving somebody is not easy. Sometimes it means letting them go if they need to, because that's how they become the best them. And, If losing them in the short or long term is the result of that, then you have to live with it because you did the right thing for love. You did the right thing for the one you love. It's a sad fact. It just is. Yeah. So, the fear is real. But my suggestion is to open your hands, and you have to run the risk. Because it's probably best for her. Chasing a dream. She's probably been working for this for a long time. And if she gets it, you support her 100% despite your fears. You can be open about your fears. You can talk about your fears. I encourage you to.
Yes.
Be open about them. But, you encourage her to go. When she gets cold feet, you're going to have to be the judge of if it's just cold feet or if it's something real. And if it's just cold feet, you encourage her to go. She may need you to be her rock. Because you love her, you will. You can sacrifice for love. Sometimes that sacrifice means losing it. And that's just the risk you take. But, here's the other thing. The path not taken isn't necessarily better. Her staying here, she may feel trapped and unsatisfied. And that takes a toll on her relationship with her, too. Neither path is thornless. This is my point. There's no guarantees that you guys are going to stay together forever, even if she stayed here.
If she stayed here, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are in college for the love of God. You're young. The chances that you're not going to be together in 10 years is pretty high. So encourage people to chase who they are.
Yes.
And if you love each other, you will find the way back. That's just how it will work. Okay.
I asked my friend to leave the room while I was in labor, and now she's upset with me. How can I mend fences without downplaying my need for privacy during such a personal moment?
Okay. Well, that is a personal moment. And my guess is she was like your friend thought she was closer, thought she was going to get to be, women getting pregnancy, men. Yeah, you guys are weird about that.
I would totally understand if my friend wanted. I don't want to see her yoo-hoo.
Well, but you don't have to see the yoo-hoo, and you can be there for support. My guess is they're close friends, but she didn't understand that she wasn't that close of a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. She thought she was a bit closer, more useful. Maybe she's the friend who took her to doctor's appointments and stuff, and who knows. But without more context, it's hard to know exactly because why she would expect to be able to be there through the whole thing.
She was not. She didn't say best friend, just a friend.
Yeah, but there's unsaid details. Like why is the friend there to begin with? Is she the one that took her to the hospital? Is she the one who's been taking her to?
Okay.
Yeah, there's something more. There's just something here that I'm suspecting is we're missing.
Okay.
There's some level of expectation. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she's just one of those overly pushy people who gets upset when they don't get their way. But there seems to be something else here. Because again, most women would be understanding.
Well, yeah.
But if you went through all her classes, took her to her appointments, you're the one who took her to the hospital, and, maybe you might understand that, you thought you were a closer friend after doing all that than you.
Yeah, I thought you were a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you're not.
Yeah.
You were a part of it for 9 months, and now all of a sudden you're being kicked to the curb. I could see. So anyway, without knowing, I don't know. And sometimes you can't mend fences. So I would leave it at that. You deal with it or First, time heals many wounds. Yeah, sometimes there's nothing to do. Then a little while, you send her some chocolates or a thank you thing for her support during your pregnancy and let that, and then see where that goes. Yeah. Okay.
Now we have work questions.
All righty. Some work questions.
I have a coworker who constantly brings me down with negativity. How can I politely ask for some space without causing tension in the office?
Well, just ignore them. The only way to deal with a Debbie Downer is just ignore them. They're coping with whatever's going on in their lives. And so let them be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tune them out. Learn to not pay attention to that stuff. Let it go in one ear and out the other. My suggestion. Because now you're making their negativity affect you. Why do you want to do that? They're living rent-free in your brain. Just ignore it. Learn to tune them out. Selective hearing. And that's my solution to this one.
Selective hearing, huh?
Selective hearing.
Yeah.
You hear only what you want to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you respond
Yeah.
to what you want to hear.
Yeah, that's nice. Your generic response to them becomes, that's nice. Sure thing. That's nice. Keep your responses short, sweet, and don't even have to be relevant to what was said. Again, just don't give them the time. Don't waste the time. Don't give them the mental energy. That's my suggestion. Okay. What's next?
It feels like the traditional 9-to-5 workday is disappearing. What's causing this shift, and is it making our work-life balance better or worse?
Well, yes and no is a traditional 9-to-5 workday disappearing. It's yes and no. One, it looked like it because a lot of people were working from home, but as we realized, that doesn't actually work very well for most people because individuals can be more productive at home, but teams can't. Most teams need to be relatively close together to work effectively, and it's very difficult for most people to do that remotely. So even, not just the federal government has sent workers back home, even states like California are send workers back to the office. Even states like California are sending workers back to the office.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't work well. On mass, hard to manage. Teamwork doesn't work well. It's hard to work together when you're apart. Right? It's
Okay.
it's a very simple concept. On some things, like in computer programming, different teams can be working in different places because they're not necessarily dependent upon the other person. You don't necessarily need immediate responses, but in anything where you need a kind of immediate responses and immediate teamwork, you kind of have to be together. If you're working on your thing, you send it in to somebody else, and a week later they come back to you. But that's the development process of a game. It's like the development process of a movie. It takes a long time, and so different individual parts can work independently, and you just kind of assemble them. As long as they're all done at roughly the same time, you assemble all the different parts later on, and everything's fine. So you can work independently. But if everything is a constant go, decisions have to be made. You have to be made quickly. It doesn't work. You need to be there. You need to be able to walk over to Sarah. Sarah, I don't understand this. Can you explain it to me? They explain it to you so you can get it done quickly. And so, but it is the traditional 9-to-5, which was never actually a thing. It was 8-to-5, by the way. We all got the 9-to-5 movie, but the movie was 9-to-5. But
It's not how it works.
It's not how it actually worked.
It's 8-to-5.
It's 8-to-5. But you're still working your same shifts, but because of the integrated world, those shifts now can happen anytime. It's no longer 9-to-5. It could be 12-to-8 or 12-to-9, or that starting time can start anytime, and so the ending time can end anytime. And that's been going on since the invention of the light bulb, really. The invention of the internet speeded that shift up somewhat.
Okay.
But when you have customers all around the world that need servicing, you have to have a 24/7 operation. And when you have to have a 24/7 operation, different people need to work a wide variety of shifts. And so in mass, you look back at it and you go, oh, well, it looks like this traditional 9 to 5 is going away. Well, yeah, because you now need to spread that workforce out across more hours because you've got more hours of the globe to cover, more space of the globe to cover. So relatively simple concept, frankly. You only have to deal with the people in your town. You can only have to be open when the people in your town are up.
Well, yeah.
Or in shopping.
Yeah.
But if your customers are the entire world, you have to be up and operating 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
So at least some amount of people are going to have to be working.
Somebody has to be there, yeah.
Yeah, and those people have to be working. So, and then a lot of people don't like the traditional working in the office. They like this, gig work and contractor work. People have like that freedom. So that is, despite the government's fighting it, then that's another thing. People prefer that. People don't like being chained to an office or chained to one company. They can let them go on a whim. They prefer to have multiple income streams, and they get to choose who they work with. So there is that. So what's causing the shift? The world around us. That's what's causing the shift. We didn't used to work 9 to 5. You used to work from sun up to sundown. Get up, you go work from sun up to sundown, regardless of what your job was, because they didn't have a light. Can't work in the dark. Doesn't matter what your job was. So, that's what I'm saying. All right, what's next?
I've got coworkers who seem to dislike me for no reason. How can I handle this professionally without letting it affect my work or my confidence?
Your coworkers ain't your friends. You don't have to care if they like you or not.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's nice.
You have your friends.
Yeah, your work is your work and your friends are your friends.
Yeah.
Now, maybe your work environment isn't pleasant and you need a new job, but, the culture there is just unfriendly. So everybody's unfriendly and you're not going to fit in. Okay. You're the round peg trying to fit in a square hole type of thing. Just the culture isn't for you. That's a possibility.
Okay.
But in terms of, your coworkers aren't your friends. It doesn't matter if they like you or not. Okay.
I left my old team, but they keep asking me for help with things I no longer handle. How can I set boundaries without burning bridges or seeming rude?
Okay, here's the thing. The reason they ask for help is because they don't know how to do whatever it is. Now, if you are managing that team, that's just, that's your problem. But this is one of these things you deal with if you've got a supervisor, you go, hey, these keep asking me for stuff. I don't want to be rude, but let your supervisor deal with it. Now, if you are now a supervisor and you are kind of responsible for them, you've got to set your foot down. So you guys got to go solve these problems on yourselves. You guys can do it. You know how. It may just be a lack of confidence. And what they need is a little kick in the confidence and say, you guys can do it. You know how to do it. Or who's ever responsible for them needs to get them trained up better. So there's a failure somewhere and it needs to be dealt with. And you go deal with whoever it is whose job it is to deal with that.
Okay.
It's not yours.
Right.
Then you go to the person whose job it is. If it's your supervisor or theirs, somebody is in charge of this and you deal with them.
Okay.
And let them deal with it. Okay.
My boss wants to have lunch with me, but his office is 300 kilometers away, and he's leaving right after. Should I be concerned about his intentions, or am I overthinking this?
You're likely overthinking it. Well, yes and no. You're likely negatively overthinking it Because no one's going to call you for 300 miles to fire you.
No.
Or 300 kilometers. No one's going to call you that far to fire you. You know, it's not likely to happen. It's not going to waste their time with it. Now, maybe you messed something up, but you probably know if you did. You would have known by now.
Mm-hmm.
Word would have gotten down.
Yeah.
So it means you're being informed of something.
Yes.
Or you're being asked about a promotion.
Yes.
Or your opinion on somebody else's promotion, even though that would be a phone call. So my guess is he's measuring you. It's an informal interview for something.
Probably. Yes.
Yeah. Or you screwed something royally up, and they're trying to figure out why.
One or the other.
They may not necessarily blame you. They may think it's a process problem ultimately, and you just happen to be the person that was there when the process failed. You know, that happens, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it's not necessarily your fault. You know, number of things came together. You just happened to be the one who happened to be the spot where all of it collapsed. And so that may be true, but usually they'd come to you for that kind of thing. So my guess, this is kind of one of these things. It's sizing you up. An informal interview, something like that, of that nature. Or they're telling you of a major change coming up and they need you to be aware of, and that they can't risk anybody else overhearing the conversation.
Yeah.
You know, maybe there's mass layoffs coming and you get to be the hatchet man. You know, don't know. But yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Okay.
My boss crossed a line with her behavior and I need to address it. How can I do this without risking my job or making things awkward?
Well, what kind of line? Do we know?
Well, she was suggestive.
Oh, so is this one of these things that a man would get automatically in trouble for if he had done?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then you deal with it the same way if the roles were reversed. You deal with it.
Well, what you're supposed to do first is say that was unwelcome and wanted. Stop. That's what you have to do first. You can't just go run into HR. You have to tell them no.
Well, you can go to HR and have HR tell them if you feel that you're worried about retaliation and you're wanting to set up. You don't necessarily have to be the one to tell them because it's a boss. So you can be afraid to. This is one of those things where you do two things. A, you do tell HR. You say, I'm exactly what just what you've gone to us. You go into HR. Now, remember, HR is actually there to protect the company, not to protect you. You are actually, by going to HR, you are protecting yourself because you're creating internal documentation that this has happened.
Yes.
Yes. Then you ask HR to have the conversation for you.
Okay.
So you don't have to do it. Let HR have that uncomfortable conversation. But at the same time, you are contacting lawyers and explaining to them what's happened just to be prepared. Because you're right. But that ship has sailed, right? He can't say that, or she can't say that, whoever it is, can't say that now because that ship has sailed. That first time, the opportunity to say no, this is unwelcome. And we're assuming that they didn't say something of that nature. But it's too late. That had to have happened immediately. So my first suggestion is have the HR deal with it. Second suggestion, if you're worried about retaliation, is you start to line up your resources for dealing with that. You don't have to make any concrete plans. Just know which lawyer you're going to call if you need to, that type of thing. Okay. Make phone calls about, hey, if I need to find a lawyer for this type of thing, who do I call? So start lining that kind of thing up. Now, well, you need it? No, because these days HRs are very afraid of getting those kind of lawsuits. And so the HR is there to protect the company. And so HR will have the conversation with your boss to protect the company, not you, not your boss, the company. So you can use HR to your benefit. Just acknowledge they're not there for you.
Yeah.
They're there for the company, to protect the company. And in this case, them dealing with your boss is protecting the company. unless your boss happens to be the owner, then you've got another issue. But my guess is some middle manager woman. Yeah. So,
Okay.
all right.
On a work trip, can I use my entire daily meal allowance without feeling guilty, or should I stick to the basics? What's the etiquette here?
Well, you can spend your entirely meal allowance without feeling guilty, but you're asking the question. Eat what you would just normally eat. Don't go out of the way.
Yeah.
Don't spend more than you normally would just because you can. You just have a normal dinner. Just have your normal meal. And if it happens, and let it be what it be. Don't worry about it. Don't try to maximize your daily meal allowance. Don't spend money that you wouldn't otherwise spend. Just eat like you would normally eat.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted pizza that day, order pizza. If you wanted steak that day, order steak. Fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't order the lobster just because you can. You know, if at the end of the job you still got some meal allowances, you want to order lobster as a treat, perfectly fine. You know, one off, perfectly fine. I'm not gonna, but you shouldn't see it a lot on the list.
Yeah.
You know, most of the list should be routine, normal stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's what the meal is paying for. They're being generous by providing you a nice cushion so you can get whatever you need.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean you have to. It's a limit. It's not a requirement. You know, that's as much as you can spend. It doesn't mean you have to spend that much. Just don't worry about it. Just buy what you're going to eat. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, now we move on to our intimacy questions.
Oh, fun. This is going to be interesting. All right. What do we got?
My boyfriend wanted me to talk dirty and degrade him in bed, but now he's upset with me. How did I mess this up, and how can we communicate better about our boundaries?
Oh, somebody wasn't clear about the type he wanted, and you did the wrong type. Yeah.
Well, he asked for certain things, certain words, and when she did it, when she called him it, then he got upset. So I think this was a fantasy thing in his head.
Yep, and he didn't really like it.
And then it didn't turn out well.
Well, here's the thing. Some of these things, they don't work with your partner who loves you. No. So again, it's fantasies, realities, different things. Because it's not nice to have the person who usually cares for you, and some things don't necessarily work with all people. Yeah. So
you didn't mess anything up. You repeated what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't.
What he wanted.
What he doesn't want that from you.
Yeah.
Yeah. There may be a desire for him for that, but when he gets that from you, it hurts emotionally rather than it's no longer fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because some people find that kind of thing fun, but when it comes from the person who loves you, it rings different than from some stranger who's just no one you know. It doesn't mean anything other than hey, it's kind of fun. But you get it from the person who loves you, and it can hit different, I suppose.
It really could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and he just found that out. So, yeah, again, we've talked about this many, many times. Fantasy and reality are not necessarily the same thing. No. Sometimes some things are better left in the head. Okay, what's next?
My partner is a virgin and I want to make their first time special. How can I be supportive and guide them without making it feel like a lesson?
Okay, so this is a woman for a man, or the other way around?
It is.
Do you remember?
It is a woman for a man.
A man's first time?
Yeah.
Yeah. How can... Well, first, when he prematurely ends, just don't make it, because that's what's going to happen.
Well, yeah.
You're going to touch him and it's going to be over. But hopefully he's young enough where it's not really all that relevant.
He can Rebound quickly.
Rebound relatively quickly. Don't overly worry about it. Humans have been doing this time and time again. You want to make the night special? Just care about him.
Yeah.
Yeah, just care about him. That's all you've got to do. It's not a lecture.
You don't have to teach
No.
him what to do.
No. You can't show him what to do, though. He'll enjoy that part. So don't overthink it. Just kind of, be nice to him. Yeah, you can guide him a little bit. Of course you are. But on the first time, it's not going to last very long. On the chances of that are.
First time.
They don't know.
It's the first time.
Yeah, it's the first time. So it's round 2 will come quickly, and so just kind of proceed to round 2. Treat it as a round 1, and just that's my kindest thing is to just kind of ignore that first.
Now,
thing.
should she ignore or should she say that's normal?
No, you don't even want to address it.
You don't?
No.
No, you just completely just
This is
didn't happen.
This is one of those things where you do that, then you teach him how to pleasure you, and then you can shift back to the other thing. So you start with him, go to you, and then go back to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that way he doesn't think about it too much either. Just ignore it. Essentially. Just treat it as perfectly normal.
Yeah.
Keep going. It's just a sign you need to shift to something different. That's all it is. It's transition. Sign for transition. Camera 2. That's what that one is. Okay. What's next?
With a new partner, how do you bring up STD testing without killing the mood or making things awkward? What's the best way to approach this conversation?
Is stop trying to think that you can have these kind of conversations and they're not going to be awkward. There just are. Just embrace the horror and just deal with it. We're supposed to be adults, and if you can't have these conversations, then you can't have other ones. And how can you have a successful relationship if you can't have an awkward conversation? It's one of the first awkward conversations you have. So have it.
Yeah.
Forget that it's not going to be awkward. It's going to be awkward. You have that conversation. I don't know. There's 100 opportunities to have it. Usually it's when there's no other conversation going. Sometimes I say in the car, but no, you don't want to lock somebody in the car because then so if it's someone doesn't have a response and haven't already have a pre-programmed response and they have to kind of work through it, if it's overly shocking, they don't have a place to go. So this is one of those things you do it at some place where someone has an opportunity where they can go to the bathroom if they need to and gather themselves because it's awkward for them too, and they may not be prepared to deal with the awkwardness as you are. Right. So let them be awkward. Let them have their awkward moment as long as they come back. And this is a big sign of the relationship. As long as they come back to the conversation, it's okay. So, hey, our relationship is progressing, so we're going to have this conversation. We need to go get tested.
Yes.
And it's just an awkward conversation. No one wants to hear it, except he's going to like to hear that, hey, she's thinking about it. Sweet, let's go. You kind of hope that's the response. That's kind of the hopeful response. But not everybody's that open, and they might have some people have trust issues, and it may feel like you're attacking them personally. Mm-hmm. And so those responses would not be necessarily, what's the word I'm looking for? Uncommon. Okay. So just embrace the horror and push forward. That's the only.
It must be done.
Yeah, that's all there. Just embrace the horror. That's my. Okay.
I've never felt sexual desire. And it's making, I remember this was a woman about 22.
Okay.
And I've never felt sexual desire, and it's making me wonder if there's something wrong with me. Is this normal, or should I be concerned?
Well, it's not. It happens.
It does happen.
It's
yeah.
It's not overly common, but it's not so rare that we're thinking, But you should check with your doctor. It could be a chemical thing.
Just a
Hormones.
quick check, do a checkup. But, and then, if there's nothing physically wrong, then, this is within the human experience.
Yeah. Not everybody has a high sex drive.
Yeah.
Not everybody has a high desire. And it's just part of the wide rainbow of humanity. But, get your hormones checked. Go through the whole blood workup. Because there may be a hormone imbalance or something of that nature.
Yeah.
But I doubt there's much medical to be worried about in terms of.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. If you don't desire it, you don't miss it. So it's not a negative draw in your life.
It's really not.
So it's not like I wouldn't worry so much about it, but I would go to the doctor, get your hormones, all that stuff checked out, just because maybe there is an off chance that there's some physical reason for it, and you can deal with that. Okay.
I like to record our intimate moments, but I'm not sure how to ask my partner without making them feel uncomfortable. How do I bring this up respectfully?
Okay, this goes back to there's no way to have this conversation that's not going to be a little awkward. Yeah, you may find she's enjoy the voyeurism aspect of it, and they're all for it.
No, this is a woman for the guy.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. The other person may or may have some voyeurism for it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so or they may not. They may be completely turned off about it. And in these days, everybody has a right to be worried about these kind of things hitting the internet. Ex-spouses.
Yeah.
It's revenge porn is illegal, but it doesn't stop people from doing it. So that's always a thought you have to consider before these kind of things. But again, like anything, you just have to have not necessarily the right moment, but not the wrong moment to have the discussion. There's times when not to have the discussion, but more when there's times to have these kind of discussions. You don't want to have these discussions right before you're getting intimate and have the camera all ready to go. You want to have these discussions beforehand, kind of when you're having kind of light, fun-hearted, flirty moments, maybe. Those are the times when you kind of bring it up and see how the response goes, see where it goes from there. But also be prepared to answer the question why you want to.
Yeah.
So ask yourself why.
Yeah.
Is it, you like the idea of the camera watching? Some people like the idea of the camera watching. They're never going to go back and watch it. They just like the idea of the camera watching.
Being recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe in that case you can just delete the film afterwards, and you can kind of solve everybody's
there you
issues.
go.
So, all right.
Okay, last question.
All right. What do we have?
I want to surprise my partner with lingerie, but I'm nervous about feeling awkward. They rewrote this wrong.
Okay.
I want to surprise my partner with lingerie. How do you do that, without being slutty, I guess is the word,
No, then I know why this is the better rewrite then.
Sorry.
Well, it's because one,
she wants it to be romantic. She wants a romantic moment with lingerie with her husband.
yes, but understand the lingerie is for her, not for him.
Okay.
So first, when he doesn't care about your lingerie, except for the fact that if it makes you feel sexy, then he's happy. He wants you out of it.
Move to the side.
Yeah, it's just a barrier to entry. That's all that is. That's just in the way. So you understand that lingerie is not for the man; it's for the woman. So she feels sexy, so she feels confident. So she in her head has lingerie being attached to ill morals, shall we say?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's in her head. There's nothing nobody else can do for that. There's nothing he can do. There's nothing we can do. She's got that burn in her brain. No, lingerie is for those intimate moments so you can feel more of a woman than you feel when you're outside of the house and when you're feeling more of a mother. Mm-hmm. This is kind of almost a classic thing. Your mother with children, right?
Yeah.
Your mother with children. She spends so much time being mother. She wants to have that other side of her. Park that mother, put it in the closet, and take out everything else but, right? It's kind of...
Yeah.
And she's feeling a little guilty for wanting to do that. And it's coming off as so she's just going to have to do it.
It's okay for mothers to have these kind of feelings and have these moments of...
Yeah, but the issue has nothing to do with the lingerie itself or anything.
Okay.
She's feeling guilty about wanting to express this side of herself.
Yeah.
And park her motherhood.
Yeah.
She's having trouble parking her motherhood. She's bringing her motherhood into the bedroom, and she's feeling guilty for it.
Yeah.
She can't park her motherhood. She can't completely separate that.
Okay.
And that's the struggle. She's suffering, and it's coming out sideways.
Yeah.
So it's a perfectly normal struggle. So first and foremost, let's let us discuss that for anybody, any woman out there who's having this. It's a perfectly normal struggle to have a difficulty parking the mom part of you and going into the bedroom as the wife, as the lover, and not connecting those two things. Mm-hmm. It's very hard. It's very natural to have those things connected, even in the bedroom. It's actually so normal that it's a stereotype. So the only way to break that thought process is to break that thought process. Now you may want to do it slowly. Wear lingerie under your clothes, and as you go about your day, with no intention or not of what may or may not happen later in the day. Just get used to wearing them. Start there. Because you're wearing them for yourself. You're not wearing them for your husband. So put them on under your clothes. No one knows but you. Get something that's comfortable under your clothes. So just get used to putting them on and literally wearing that part of you. So that part of you becomes more comfortable. That would be my suggestion.
That's a good suggestion, babe. I like it.
The other way is you use the Band-Aid method. You just rip it off. You just, schmeal schmazel. You kind of put the outfit on and you kind of go full theater kid, right? Even if you don't believe it, no one's gonna know the difference.
Kind of fake it till you make it. Huh?
Yeah, it's the two. I think it's a little kinder to yourself to go the slower way, but there will be that moment where you're going to have to fake it till you make it. Now, hopefully that faking it part's only 10 minutes, but
Yeah.
And so, but still, that's my suggestion. Be kind to yourself. Either way, be kind to yourself. This is perfectly natural, perfectly normal, something mothers have been struggling with since time immemorial. So, welcome to the club, I suppose, would be the kindest thing to say. Welcome to the club. Yeah, join in. It's a long line, but everybody's kind. Everybody's friendly. Because we've all been there. Okay, so that's it for me and Lubby tonight. Thank you for joining us. Have a good week. good night. Please remember to love everybody.
Good night.